Honestly, one of my favorite things in gaming is that whole journey, you know? When you start out as literally nobody special, and by the end, you're this absolute powerhouse that everyone's talking about. So I wanted to talk about some single-player RPGs that just nail this feeling. Like, these games really make you work for it, and when you finally get there, it feels earned, you know? That's the kind of stuff that sticks with you. Anyway, let me show you what I'm talking about. Kenshi is like the ultimate you are nobody and the world does not give a single fuck about you. Like, most games start you off weak, right? Kenshi starts you off as genuinely pathetic, and I mean that in the best way possible. If you've ever wanted an RPG where just surviving another day feels like a miracle, and actually becoming someone takes literal dozens of hours of grinding, hustling, and eating dirt, Kenshi is your game. You don't start as a hero, not a soldier, not even a mercenary. You start as some skinny dude in rags with a stick. You can't fight, you can't cook, you can't run fast. You can barely carry anything. You are literally the guy who dies in the background of someone else's story. And the game just goes, cool, here's a giant open world. Good luck figuring it out. And that world? Absolutely brutal. You can get jumped by starving bandits 5 minutes in. Slavers will chain you up and sell you. Cannibals will literally eat you. And the scary part? That's not some rare event or special quest. That's just Tuesday in Kenshi. The entire world is hostile. You are not important. You're not on some grand quest to save anything. You just exist. And that's exactly why Kenshi is so damn special. But here's where it gets good. The game gives you total freedom. No story pushing you along, no objectives. Want to be a farmer out in the desert? Go for it. A one-armed thief sneaking through enemy cities? Totally possible. Build your own town, join a faction, become a slaver, or hunt slavers down, recruit an army, or just wander alone as this broken survivor. It's all open-ended. It's your sandbox to do whatever. And the progression? Man, it's slow, but that's what makes it feel real. If you want to get better at sword fighting, you don't just click a skill tree, you have to actually fight, over and over. And yeah, you're gonna lose most of those fights early on, but every time you get knocked down, you're learning. Your stats go up bit by bit. You heal. You come back a little stronger. Even crawling away from a battle with a broken leg, that's progress in Kenshi. You start recruiting people, training them, building a little squad. Then maybe you start mining, selling iron, crafting armor. Eventually you build a base. Maybe now you can actually defend yourself when bandits raid you. Maybe now you're the one hunting them down. And slowly, very, very slowly, you go from being just another nobody with busted legs and no food to leading a crew rolling deep in custom armor, taking down entire armies. There's no fanfare, no dramatic level-up screen with fireworks, but you'll remember the first time you took out a group of bandits without getting knocked unconscious, the first time you survived a battle without losing a limb, the first time your farm made enough money that you could stop eating rotten bread. Those tiny wins, they feel absolutely massive because you earned them the hard way. Okay, so Kingdom Come Deliverance, this game is something else, man. Like, most RPGs will tell you, oh, you're weak at the start, but then you're still out there taking down bandits by hour 2. Not this one. This game actually makes you feel pathetic in the beginning. I'm talking genuinely useless. You play as Henry, right? Just some blacksmith's kid. And I mean, the dude literally can't do anything. Can't read, can't fight worth a damn, doesn't know which end of the bow to hold. And he gets winded jogging like 50 feet. It's almost embarrassing. And the NPCs, they treat you exactly how you'd expect, like you're just another nobody peasant they couldn't care less about. The whole thing's set in medieval Bohemia, and it's stupidly realistic. No magic, no fantasy creatures, just mud and swords and a bunch of political drama. They even made it so you can't save your game unless you chug this specific potion or find a bed to sleep in. Yeah, it's that kind of game. But honestly, that's exactly why the whole journey works so well. So right off the bat, your whole village gets destroyed. Your parents get killed right in front of you, and it's brutal. This isn't just some throwaway backstory that happens in a cutscene you forget about. Like, you actually feel it. Henry's completely shattered. He's terrified, running for his life with nothing. That's where you start. You're not some chosen one or anything. You're literally just this traumatized kid who has no idea what he's doing. And the game takes its sweet time with everything. Want to get good with a sword? Cool, go actually practice and learn the combos. You can't just slap on better gear and call it a day. Lockpicking, reading, hunting, you gotta learn all of it for real. The game's not gonna give you participation trophies just for showing up. Early on, it can be kind of annoying, not gonna lie, but once it starts clicking, dude, it's so satisfying. That first time you actually win a sword fight without just mashing buttons like an idiot feels incredible. Or when you finally read your first book after grinding through lessons like some broke college student, there's this weird peasant pride that hits you. Slowly but surely, people start respecting you. You meet nobles, get pulled into bigger missions, your gear gets better, you get more say in what happens. But here's the thing, you never turn into Superman or anything. Henry's still awkward sometimes, still second guesses himself, the writing keeps him human, and honestly that makes it way better. His whole arc feels like what would actually happen to a real person. It's not about being the chosen one, it's just about growing up the hard way. So yeah, if you want an RPG where you genuinely start from nothing, not just in the story but in the actual gameplay too, Kingdom Come absolutely crushes it. It's slow, it'll kick your ass, but it feels authentic. And when you get to the end and think back on where you started, it's way different. You remember being that useless kid getting his ass handed to him for trying to steal apples. And now you're riding with knights, cracking cases, actually changing things. That's the good stuff right there. This is like the classic nobody to somebody RPG, but it does it in this really interesting way. Because you're not starting as some farm kid or random villager or whatever. You're a courier, literally just a delivery guy. No reputation, no skills to speak of. Nothing special at all. And the game opens with you getting shot in the freaking head and dumped in a grave. That's your introduction to the story. So this doctor patches you up out in the desert and then basically kicks you out into the wasteland with like a pistol that barely works and some bandages. That's it. You're not some trained soldier. There's no prophecy about you, nobody gives a shit who you are. It's just you, whatever you can scavenge, in this massive desert that wants you dead. And honestly, that's exactly why New Vegas is so incredible at this whole thing. The world doesn't care about you at all, until you force it to. The beauty of it is you get to decide who you become. Want to be this smooth-talking con artist who gets what they want through manipulation and charm? Go for it. Want to be a complete psycho who just shoots their way through every problem? Yeah, that works too. Hell, you can even say screw all these major factions and just do your own thing. Carve out your own path. The game genuinely lets you. But none of it's easy. You gotta earn every bit of it. Talking to people, scrounging for decent gear, fighting off raiders and worse. Getting caught up in all this political mess between the NCR, Caesar's Legion, and Mr. House. And here's the wild part. If you play things right, you can literally end up controlling New Vegas yourself. Like, that's insane when you think about it. You go from some guy who got executed and left in a ditch to the person who decides what happens to the entire Mojave. That's one hell of a comeback story. But it's not even really about the power, you know? It's about the freedom. You don't have to be the good guy, or the bad guy, or anyone's savior. You could just drift around, make some money, help some people, screw over others, whatever feels right to you. The game doesn't shove you into some predetermined role. It just drops you in the dirt and goes, okay, what are you gonna do about it? And that's what makes each playthrough feel so personal. Your courier is probably completely different from someone else's. Maybe you helped the NCR try to bring some order to things. Maybe you sided with the Legion and went full authoritarian. Maybe you looked at both of them and said nah and took Vegas for yourself. But whatever you did, you made it happen. You started with absolutely nothing. No reputation, no caps, no allies. Just the billet wound in your skull and the determination to not die. Gothic is basically the poster child for a game that actively does not care about you. It doesn't hype you up or make you feel special, it just dumps you into a brutal, walled-off prison colony and says, good luck not dying. You literally play as the nameless hero. The game won't even give you a name, which tells you exactly where you stand on the food chain. You're just chucked into this massive, magical quarantine zone packed with murderers, scavengers, and monsters. Nobody's giving you a tutorial, nobody's stepping in to save you. You're definitely not some prophesized chosen one, you're just another piece of fresh meat left to rot with the rest of them. The crazy part is how everybody treats you like absolute trash right out of the gate. If you walk into a camp and try to make small talk, half the time you'll just get insulted or literally punched in the mouth. There's no grand welcoming committee handing out quests. If you want even a shred of respect, you have to grind for it. You take the dirty jobs, figure out who won't stab you in the back, get into fights, and slowly drag yourself up from the dirt. Man, the early game is brutal. A random wolf will end your run, bandits will wreck you, take a bad step off a cliff, you're done. It's a total trial by fire. But honestly, that's exactly why the game is so damn addictive, because when you finally figure it out, when you join a faction, scrap together some decent armor, and finally learn how to swing a sword without looking like a drunk idiot, you feel like you actually earned it. As you get stronger, the whole world shifts around you. Those same guys who were laughing at you earlier suddenly start showing some respect. Some of them are even scared of you, or they actually want to team up. You aren't that punching bag anymore. You've carved out your own spot in this messed up system, and respect is everything in Gothic. You can't just grind levels and smash your way through. You have to navigate the politics between the old camp, new camp, and the sect camp, and actually figure out where your loyalties lie. The story builds up perfectly too. At first, you're just trying to survive and find a crew, but before you know it, things snowball. You're dealing with ancient ruins, wild magic, and sleeping gods. This random nameless dude ends up dealing with all of it, not because of some grand destiny, but because he just toughed it out and got himself ready for it. What I really love is how Gothic refuses to handhold you. There are no giant glowing markers telling you where to go, and no friendly NPCs dumping lore on you to explain exactly what to do. You just wander out there, screw up, get your butt kicked, and slowly piece it all together. It's honestly one of the most authentic RPGs out there when it comes to feeling real progression. Progression is way more than watching a stat tick up or looting a better sword. It comes down to reputation and power that feels totally real because you had to crawl through the mud to earn it. Look, Gothic is definitely old, and yeah, it's pretty janky, but it is absolutely one of the most raw, hardcore zero-to-hero journeys you will ever play. Okay, so Risen, this game is basically Gothic's cousin, which makes sense because it's the same devs, Piranha Bytes. If you've played Gothic, you'll recognize the vibe immediately, but even if you haven't, Risen is still a perfect example of that start with absolutely nothing experience. And I mean nothing. You literally wash up on a beach after a shipwreck wearing rags and that's it. No weapons, no supplies, just you and whatever you can scrounge up. Welcome to the island, good luck figuring things out. And the world? Yeah, it doesn't give a damn about you. Just like Gothic, Risen dumps you into this harsh world and offers zero help. You're not a warrior, not a mage, not even someone's apprentice. You're literally nobody, just some random person who survived a wreck. People either ignore you, talk to you like you're trash, or try to manipulate you for their own benefit. And the early game is brutal, man. A wild boar can straight up murder you if you're not paying attention. Every piece of food, every crappy weapon, every single coin, you gotta work for all of it. But that's what makes it so good, you know? You actually feel yourself getting stronger. It's not just numbers going up, it's survival. And bit by bit, you start becoming somebody. You pick a side, either roll with the Dawn and his rebels, or join up with the Inquisition and their whole strict religious thing. You learn actual skills, get real gear, explore these ancient ruins, and unlock abilities that make you finally feel like, okay, yeah, I can actually handle myself now. What I really like is how open everything is, especially early on. You can just wander around the island, talk to whoever, sneak into places you probably shouldn't be in, and really make the journey your own. There's no big glowing quest marker babying you through everything. You gotta actually pay attention, ask people questions, and figure out where to go next. And because of that, every little victory feels massive. You remember where you started, right? Just some dude who washed ashore with literally nothing. And now you're walking around in actual armor, slinging spells, uncovering ancient mysteries buried all over the island. The story grows with you too. It starts small, doing random jobs for people, helping folks out, getting a feel for all the political tension on the island. But the deeper you get, the bigger it becomes. Ancient gods, buried temples, all this lore that connects to the wider Piranha Bytes universe. But what makes it hit is that you made that journey happen. The game doesn't railroad you down some predetermined path. It just drops you in this messed up world and says, alright, make something of yourself. That's really what Risen does best. Now we gotta talk about Outward. If you want a brutally honest RPG that makes you feel like an absolute nobody, this is it. It makes you weak right out of the gate, and honestly, it keeps you that way for a massive chunk of your playthrough. But it works. It really nails that feeling of just being a regular dude trying to survive. Right off the bat, forget about being a hero. You aren't the chosen one, and there's no ancient prophecy backing you up. Nope, you're literally just a broke villager waking up drowning in debt. The game kicks off with your own community telling you to pay your blood price or they're taking your house. There's no cinematic dragon attack or dramatic intro. Your biggest enemy is just rent. And honestly, that is kinda genius. You start with absolutely nothing. We're talking basic clothes, a rusty sword if you're lucky, zero cash, and absolutely no clue what you're doing. The combat feels heavy and slow, but that's the whole point. The devs didn't mess up. You just aren't a trained warrior. You're practically swinging a weapon for the first time. Sure, you can learn magic, but it takes serious time and resources. You literally have to go on a massive pilgrimage just to unlock your very first spells. It is a massive commitment. And don't even get me started on the survival mechanics, because the game leans into them hard. You've got to manage eating, drinking, sleeping, and staying warm. You're constantly trying to avoid diseases and patch up wounds. It's basically a hardcore survival sim baked right into an open-world RPG. You aren't out there saving kingdoms, you're just trying not to freeze to death or die from some random infection. The world is massive, completely dangerous, and it straight up does not care if you exist, but you push through anyway. The coolest part is how little Outward holds your hand. Forget about a compass with glowing objective markers telling you exactly where to go. You actually have to learn the layout of the land. You're pulling out an actual map, looking for landmarks and memorizing paths. But when it finally clicks, when you actually survive that first dungeon, craft your own gear, or win a brutal fight because you outsmarted the enemy instead of just mashing buttons, it feels incredible. Nothing is handed to you, so you end up building every bit of your success step by step. Even late in the game, it keeps that grounded vibe. You never turn into some untouchable god-level character. You're still just a scrappy adventurer. Alright, so GreedFall handles this whole nobody to somebody thing in a different way. You're not starting out broke or helpless. It's more like you're a complete outsider. You're stepping into this brand new land where you've got zero history, zero connections, and you've got to build your way up from there. And honestly, it does a really solid job making that feel genuine. So you're playing as Disarded, this noble from some big dying city who gets sent to this mysterious island called S.T.A.L.K.E.R. And yeah, technically you're a diplomat and you've got the fancy clothes and the feathered hat and all that, but here's the thing. Nobody on this island gives a crap about any of that. You're not respected, you're not powerful. You're just another outsider showing up to a place with its own deep cultures, ancient magic, and a ton of political drama, and nobody trusts you. What's cool is how the game really leans into you being the stranger. The native tribes have no idea who you are. The different factions, these religious zealots, the science nerds, the merchant guilds, they all have their own plans, and you're stuck in the middle of all their BS. You don't start as some leader. You don't have armies backing you up or legendary abilities. You've just got a mission, some basic skills, and that's about it. From there, you gotta figure out how you're gonna climb your way up. And that's where GreedFall really works. You build your influence through the choices you make, not just by fighting stuff. Do you help the native people or screw them over for profit? Do you support the science faction or call out their cold, detached methods? Do you go with the religious crowd or expose all their lies? Every big decision changes how people see you, and eventually you're not just some visitor passing through. You're actually a major player, but you made that happen yourself. You don't just waltz in and become the boss on day one. You work your way there through diplomacy, fighting when you have to, building trust, and yeah, sometimes stabbing people in the back. The combat's pretty decent. It's this mix of swords, guns, and magic. Not the deepest system ever, but it gets the job done. But the real power in GreedFall isn't about how hard you hit. It's about how you lead, how you negotiate, how you build relationships with people. You've got companions with their own backstories, and they actually react to the stuff you do. Push too far in one direction and they'll literally leave you. You gotta earn their loyalty too. By the time you get to the endgame, you're not that unknown diplomat anymore. You're someone with real pull, respected or feared by tribes and entire nations. You're dealing with ancient gods, forbidden knowledge, massive power struggles. But it doesn't feel random or unearned. It feels like this natural progression from curious outsider to this central figure who everyone looks to when things hit the fan. So yeah, GreedFall doesn't drop you off starving in a ditch somewhere, but it absolutely nails that underdog vibe. You're the new face in a world that's been doing its thing for centuries. Okay, so ELEX. This game takes the whole nobody to somebody thing and just throws it in a blender with sci-fi, post-apocalyptic stuff, jetpacks, and mutants. And somehow it actually works. This is another Piranha Bytes game, same people who made Gothic and Risen, so you already know what you're getting into. You start off weak as hell, broke, and nobody respects you. It's their whole thing. You're playing as Jax, who used to be this elite commander for a high-tech faction called the Albs, but right at the beginning, you've been betrayed, shot out of the sky, your armor's gone, and you're left for dead. All your fancy powers? Gone. Your whole squad? Gone. Your rank, your reputation, your gear, all of it, just gone. So now you're literally just some guy in rags crawling out of a wrecked escape pod, trying not to die in this brutal world that wants nothing to do with you. The world itself is kind of insane, by the way. It's this weird mix of sci-fi, medieval fantasy, and Mad Max wasteland all mashed together. One second you're swinging a sword, next second you're blasting someone with a plasma rifle. And no matter where you go, people treat you like absolute garbage, just another desperate nobody trying to make it. But that's exactly what makes ELEX pretty damn cool. You literally start at rock bottom. You've got a stick and a whole lot of hope. And the world is massive, dangerous, and completely unforgiving. The early game will kick your ass. You're gonna die, like, a lot. Random animals will wreck you. Bandits will kill you in 2 hits. Even just traveling from one town to another feels like you're barely surviving. But the longer you play, the more you start clawing your way back up. And the game gives you total freedom with where you want to go. You can join one of 3 completely different factions: the Berserkers, who are all about magic and nature and that whole vibe, the Outlaws, who are basically Mad Max raiders running around with flamethrowers, or the Clerics, who've got high-tech weapons and literally worship a machine god. Each one gives you different abilities, gear, and a place to actually belong, but none of them trust you at first. You gotta prove yourself from scratch all over again. It's not just about fighting either. There's dialogue choices, building relationships, your reputation matters. People actually remember the stuff you do, and depending on how you play it, Jax can either try to become human again or just go full ruthless and turn into something way darker. The choices really matter, especially as you're trying to figure out who backstabbed you and what the hell is going on with all these factions fighting over this weird energy source called ELEX. But here's what really makes it hit. You genuinely feel yourself getting stronger. Like, you remember getting absolutely destroyed by a rat 10 hours ago, and now you're flying around with a jetpack cutting down robots with a laser sword. That transformation is real. You start as this nobody with no allies, no equipment, no power, and by the end, you're literally deciding the fate of the entire world. Alright, so Divinity Original Sin 2. This game does the nobody to somebody thing in one of the deepest, most insane RPG systems I've ever seen. But here's what's different. You don't just start off weak, you start off hated. Like, you're literally a prisoner with a magic muzzle strapped to your face, getting dragged to this island where they cure people of their powers like it's some kind of magical concentration camp. Yeah, your life is pretty much garbage at the beginning. You're playing as a sorcerer, basically someone who can use source magic, which in this world is considered super dangerous. So dangerous that the Divine Order, this big authoritarian group, rounds up anyone who can use it, throws them on boats, and ships them off to this cursed island called Fort Joy. And that's where you start. Literally in chains, no gear. Your powers are completely shut down. Everyone around you either wants to kill you, exploit you, or just straight up doesn't trust you. The game doesn't pretend you're anyone special. It's more like, hey, you're a problem, and you're gonna have to claw your way out of this mess. What makes it hit so hard is you genuinely feel like nobody at the start. You're just trying to escape, trying to stay alive. You don't even know who you can trust. And yeah, sure, there's this whole thing about how you might become a god someday, but right now, you can barely kill a crab on the beach without almost dying. You're weak, confused, and stuck in a system that wants you gone. But then things start opening up. You find some halfway decent gear. You put together a party. You start unlocking new abilities and figuring out crazy combos. And slowly, you go from being this forgotten prisoner to someone people actually start talking about. You start messing with fate itself. You get into these battles where you're outsmarting enemies with insane tactics, teleporting them into fire, electrifying water puddles, summoning creatures mid-fight, and suddenly you're not just some random mage anymore, you're an actual force to be reckoned with. And what really makes Divinity 2 special is how much the game actually reacts to your choices. Like, they're not just there for show, they genuinely change the world, the characters, your relationships. You decide how to treat your companions. You pick who lives and who dies, which gods you trust, what kind of legacy you're gonna leave. It's about figuring out who you're going to be now that you actually have power. By the end, you're not just somebody, you literally become a god. You reshape the entire world. But getting there? Man, it's brutal, full of betrayal, heartbreak, impossible decisions you have to make. You started as a prisoner with a collar around your neck, getting ordered around by guards. Now you're rewriting destiny itself. That climb is what makes the whole thing so satisfying. And what's wild is every character in your party, whether you make your own or pick one of the origin characters like Los, Sibyl, or the Red Prince, they all start as nobodies too. Outcasts, broken, hunted. And you get to help them through their own redemption story, or watch them fall apart depending on how you play it. So yeah, Divinity Original Sin 2 might look like just another fantasy RPG on the surface, but it's got one of the strongest nobody to literal god arcs in RPG history. It doesn't give you anything for free. Mountain Blade Warband. This is like the ultimate from nothing to legend simulator. No cutscenes, no fancy story, no chosen one prophecy BS, just you, some beat up sword, a horse, and this massive medieval sandbox where you can do whatever you want. And that's what makes Warband so ridiculously addicting. The game doesn't tell you who you're supposed to be, it just lets you figure it out and become whoever the hell you want. You start as an absolute nobody. No army, no land, no titles, not even halfway decent equipment. You pick a backstory, maybe you were a peasant, maybe some noble's kid, maybe you grew up on the streets, but honestly, none of that really matters once you're in the game. Because the second you spawn into S.T.A.L.K.E.R, the game just looks at you and goes, alright, cool, now prove yourself. And dude, the early game will humble you fast. You'll get jumped by bandits constantly, your one crappy horse might get stolen, and if you're dumb enough to pick a fight with some lord's army when all you've got is a handful of farmers with pitchforks, yeah, you're done. But that's what makes the game so special, you know? You actually feel the grind. You're scraping together coins, doing caravan escort jobs, looting whatever you can from bandit camps, hiring a couple desperate guys from the tavern, just trying to survive all the chaos around you. But then, things start clicking. You win a few fights, you build up a small crew, you train your guys, buy some actual gear, get your first real taste of what it's like to lead people. And once you're rolling with 20 troops, then 50, then 100, suddenly you're not running away from fights anymore. You are the fight. You go from literally hiding behind trees to leading massive battles with cavalry charges and siege towers smashing through castle walls. And that whole transformation feels earned, every single step of it. The best part though? You choose your own path. Want to be a mercenary working for different kingdoms? Do it. Want to kiss up to nobles and marry into royalty? That's totally possible. Want to betray everyone, start your own kingdom, and crown yourself king or queen? You can absolutely do that. And it's not some scripted power fantasy either. You actually have to work for it. You need loyal vassals, strong armies, solid strategy. You gotta manage politics, keep your people fed, and actually hold on to the land you conquer. Because in Warband, everyone's fighting for power, and if you mess up, someone else will take everything from you. Wartales is different. You don't play as some hero. You don't even play as one person. You're managing this whole band of nobodies. Could be farmers, escaped prisoners, deserters, just regular people who picked up a sword because the world's going to shit and they need to eat. There's no magic, no special powers, just brutal choices, cold nights, and a whole lot of blood. Right from the start, everything's working against you. You're completely broke, half-starved, and surrounded by bandits who are just as desperate as you are. Your weapons are trash, your armor's barely holding together, and your people will literally abandon you if you don't pay them. They can get depressed, get injured, get exhausted. It's not about grinding experience points. It's about keeping your crew alive and slowly turning this mess of nobodies into an actual mercenary company that can handle itself. The combat's turn-based and tactical, and it does not mess around. Where you position your guys matters, backstabbing matters, morale can completely swing a fight, and if one of your people dies, that's it, they're gone for good. You actually feel the pain of losing someone you've kept alive for hours, but when they survive, when they rank up and you finally get to equip them with that gear you looted off some rich noble you ambushed on the road, man, that's the payoff right there. That's your reward. And it's not just about fighting either. You gotta manage everything. Food, wages, injuries, crafting, setting up camp, even taxes and legal papers depending on where you're traveling. You can play it honorable and follow the law, or you can rob traders, smuggle contraband, and live dirty. The game lets you choose how you're gonna survive. Are you trying to be a respectable sellsword company, or are you just a straight-up criminal gang barely scraping by? The world itself is dark and gritty as hell. It's medieval, but not in that romanticized fantasy way. It feels like a world after everything's collapsed. Kingdoms are crumbling, corruption's everywhere, and people are just trying to make it through another day. There's no grand destiny waiting for you, just rumors of treasure, jobs from desperate townspeople, and a ton of morally gray choices you gotta make. What's really cool is that as you get stronger, it's not just about having better stats. Your crew actually becomes known. Towns start reacting to you differently. You take on bigger contracts, maybe even start influencing entire regions politically. You go from being scavengers and vagrants to respected mercs, or feared raiders. S.T.A.L.K.E.R. Shadow of Chernobyl isn't your standard RPG setup. It is gritty, weird, brutal, and honestly pretty depressing, which actually works perfectly for the vibe. The game strips away your power and completely wipes your identity, leaving you feeling like an absolute nobody. You literally wake up without a single clue who you are. You start the game as the Marked One, some guy with full-blown amnesia who gets dragged out of a wrecked truck deep in the zone, barely clinging to life. You have exactly one objective logged in your PDA: kill S.T.A.L.K.E.R. You have absolutely no idea why, you don't even know who S.T.A.L.K.E.R. is, and you have zero gear, zero friends, and absolutely no clue what is happening. It is an incredibly cold, lonely intro, and it completely sets the tone for the rest of the run. The world of S.T.A.L.K.E.R. is this twisted, alternate version of the Chernobyl exclusion zone. You aren't merely dealing with empty buildings and radiation, it is an absolute nightmare out there. You've got mutants, rogue military factions, bizarre reality-bending anomalies, and desperate scavengers all killing each other over scraps just to survive. And where do you fit in? You are literally just some dude with a cheap pistol and a dirty bandage, wandering right into the middle of it. Early on, you are incredibly weak. Ammo is impossible to find, your guns are constantly jamming, medkits are super rare, and every single firefight feels like it might be the end of the line. A random bandit might gun you down, or some freak mutant with 6 arms and no eyes might just eat you. The zone genuinely does not care about you, and it definitely isn't trying to help you, which is exactly why clawing your way up feels so incredibly satisfying. You have to slowly build yourself from the ground up. You take on shady jobs for sketchy traders, scavenge busted guns off dead enemies, and risk your neck exploring dangerous ruins just to find artifacts you can sell. You have to actually learn how to spot anomalies, sneak around enemies, and manage your inventory weight so you don't get yourself killed dragging around too much trash. You learn how to survive the hard way, by dying over and over until you finally get smart about it. As you push deeper into the zone, the whole mystery behind your amnesia starts unraveling. You pick up clues, piece together old messages, and eventually figure out that you are directly tied to the core of whatever the hell went wrong out there. But the brilliant part is that even when the story ramps up and goes full sci-fi, you still feel like you are barely scraping by. You never magically turn into a superhero. You are always just a regular guy holding a gun, desperately trying to stay alive in a world that actively hates you. And man, the atmosphere in this game is unreal. Creeping through dark, abandoned underground labs with the lights flickering and mutants screaming somewhere in the distance is pure, unadulterated tension. Every single step feels incredibly risky. Every call you make, whether to fight or run, push forward or back off, feels massive. So when you finally get your hands on some decent gear, like a reliable rifle, armor that won't instantly break, and a solid supplies you risked your neck for, it feels completely earned. You go from remembering getting absolutely bodied by a stray dog because you ran out of ammo, to navigating massive psychic storms and wiping out military squads. It's a massive glow-up, but there are no cheering crowds. It's just you standing in the rain, glad to be alive.